Hey there, so time for another video. It's Betty's oil change, 4,500 mile oil change. Time for that. As I've probably said in other videos, I don't follow the normal schedule. I do 50% of the interval. So rather than 3,000, I'm going to do, and I have been doing, oil changes at every 1,500 miles. I know it's expensive, but that's a cost that I wish to suck up in order to ensure that I can get samples sent off to the lab and find out before problems happen if I need to make changes to my oil or anything like that. Anyway, it's July 3rd. It's about 91 degrees, feels like 125, humid as hell. So we're gonna try to get this done quickly. Now the video is not about the oil change itself. The video is about how I lift this car using a Bendpak mid-rise scissor lift. I may make some references to using floor jacks, which I also use on occasion, but generally whenever I do maintenance on this car, because I'm old or older, and I feel it, I use the lift. So we'll go ahead and cover that today. So here it is. This is the mid-rise scissor lift I bought from Bendpak a few years ago. I just couldn't get down on the floor anymore and do this work, and I got tired of using floor jacks all the time for stuff. But here's the dilemma that you have with lifting a Volkswagen on a lift. Where do you place the lift pads? Where do the lift arms go? Well, everyone online will likely tell you that you have to lift the front of the vehicle when using a lift from the Napoleon hat, which is a structural piece that rides perpendicular to the frame of the car. It's right up front. The problem with getting to that on this, I imagine it's standard for all Volkswagens, but with the 68 in particular, which is what I'm doing, you cannot get the arms for this lift to go any further than this position here. In order to sufficiently hit the Napoleon hat on the bolts as prescribed, these arms have to rotate in a little bit further. And that's just not safe. It's not going to happen. There's a stop here for a reason, to prevent you from doing something really dumb like putting these arms over top of the cylinders and lifting the car. The rear of the car is a snap. We'll just use these SUV adapters, we'll run it right up to the torsion bar, no problem. So the issue is, what do you do? Do you lift from the pinch welds? Do you do something like lay a 2x4 across? How do I lift this vehicle up with this lift? So here we are under the car, and you can see that the two bolts there that are pictured, those are the bolts that are on this driver's side of the Napoleon hat. And if I swing this arm, it's never going to get there. It's going to impact, it's going to connect or reach maybe the pinch weld here. And no amount of rolling this car forward or backward is going to enable you to get those pads any closer to that Napoleon hat. It's going to go right up into the wheel well at best. And then if we take a look over here at the passenger side, and I don't know if it's going to come out very well, but you should be able to see how damaged the pinch weld has got because of previous owners who don't have a clue as to how to lift this car up. They just went ahead and jacked it up on the pinch welds. And if you want to see really bad, come on back here to the rear of the passenger side. You'll see how mangled this pinch weld has gotten, and you'll see this big dent where some clown came up here with a floor jack and thought they could lift the car on the pans. And do you know what's right on the other side of that pan? The battery. Thank you, previous owner or owners. You guys are outstanding mechanics. Look how bad this has gotten. Someone came to the rear of the car and tried to use a floor jack to lift the car. Now, on Volkswagens, right in this area is where a lift point should be if you're going to use the standard jack that comes with the car. And that's great. You could probably lift the rear of the car rather easily with that thing if you want to take the risk in doing so. Now, here we are at the rear of the car, and lifting from the rear isn't too bad. As long as you get in front of the engine, and between the engine and transmission, you'll see that bar there where the training mounts are at, where those big ass bolts are. You could get a floor jack right up into that. Now, I use one of the Daytona floor jacks from Harbor Freight. It's much longer. It's a long reach jack to get underneath there so I can clear the muffler, the rear bumper, and everything. But you can come in with something like a motorcycle jack and get there. However, you don't want to use the rectangle lifts on the motorcycle jack because you're going to end up impacting the oil pan. And if you've got an oil sump that's attached to this, an additional sump, you're going to impact that as well. So the best thing to do is to come up with a regular floor jack if you want to lift from the rear end, and then you'll just have to figure out where you're going to put your jack stands. I'm sorry, I'm having a veterans moment. The jack stands. Generally, I put those on the torsion bars. Now, if you need to lift from the front of the car, of course, you can always get right here and get to the bottom of the front beam. That's a snap. Come right in with the floor jack and get here. Okay, and then you can put your jack stands on either side of the front, lower part of the front beam, and that'll hold the car secure. Great, but what about how do we get around the issue with using the floor lift itself? All right, so we got Betty up to her max height on this lift, actually up to the lift's maximum height, and you can lift a 2015 Nissan Armada with this thing using the SUV adapters if you want to, and still make, still get the car off the ground a good bit. I don't take it to the max lift using this, the max height I mean. It's a little frightening having a big ass car like that in this garage on this lift, just saying. You do your own thing, man, if you're gonna go take the risk, but I don't do it. Nevertheless, here's the SUV lift used on the torsion bars. And these are all both on the passenger and driver's rear side. And here you can see, this is the driver's side. This is what the lift point would look like if it was correctly installed on the other side as well, if you're gonna use a bumper style jack that comes in here that's made for the Volkswagen. However, we still have to deal with the pinch welds. And what I have done is installed pinch weld adapters. So rather than going all the way up to trying to risk getting to the Napoleon hat, I just use these pinch weld adapters. And there's various sizes you can get. The thing is that this size here doesn't quite fit well with the pinch weld. Okay, it's gonna sit like that. It's never gonna get on there. I'm not sure what size this is, maybe 10 millimeter. I'm not quite sure what that is, but that's not gonna cut it. For my daughter's Kia, I use this type. And that might work well enough, but it still is a little bit crooked. And given how damaged my pinch welds are, I didn't want to deal with trying to straighten everything out and getting it to work. So what I did was I contacted these guys, Versus Engineering. They make these things for tuner cars, okay? I called them up, told them what the width was I was trying to get to, and they have various styles or various models for different types of cars. I told them what width I needed to get, and they recommended this universal one. It seems to work for everything. Comes with set screws. However, the stock set screws that come with the unit, each one, are not going to be long enough to make it this distance across the pinch weld. You have to bolt that on there. I will drill through, you just bolt the two. So I just simply went up to Ace Hardware and got some longer screws, put those in, set screws I said wrong, Allen head screws, and installed those and held them in with red Loctite. They're not coming off of there anytime soon. I bought 4, I got 2 backups in case something happened. Now, you may ask yourself, or you may ask me, well, why did you bother doing that? Why not just get a wider, find out if there's even a wider magnetic one like this right here? Simple. I don't know if I'm gonna get broke down on the side of the road, and if I need assistance, if I need to lift this car up, I do have a lift or a jack that I keep with me, and that jack is just a universal jack. It's sort of flat where it lifts at, but it would be perfect for these Versa Engineering pinch weld lift points. So that's how I do it. That's how you lift one of these cars up. Forget the Napoleon hat, forget trying to stretch. See, look there's the Napoleon hat bolts right there. There's no bloody way we're gonna get this lift to connect to that, make that point, and be able to safely lift this car out without doing damage. And everything else underneath it here is very thin. The floor pans are thin. You're just not gonna get a good lift point anywhere else. And as you can see from the damage on this side, looks like somebody tried to do it on this pan also. So that's how we lift the car up. One thing I forgot to mention while doing the lift, I got Betty is back up now. I just did the flush. It's draining the flush oil back out, and then I'm gonna put in the oil that'll run for another 1,500 miles. But one thing I forgot to mention with this lift, in the case of a Volkswagen specifically anyway, I find that the car, when it comes back down, will roll just a little bit, one way or the other. And so if you are doing oil changes like I do, and you're going to, raise the car, drain the oil, lower the car, put in a flush fill, then raise it again and drain it, you have to make sure that everything is set right as far as the pads and the pinch weld stops or whatever you're using to lift the car, if you're using on the Bendpak lift. In my experience, the Volkswagen will drift a little bit, and you'll find that the front pads, and maybe even the back ones, are not completely aligned the way you had them. So you have to go back and double check it. Nothing would be worse than lifting the vehicle up, bringing it down, assuming that everything is correct, lifting it back up again, and then guess what? It falls off the thing, or it punctures up through the frame or through the pans or something. Then you got a real major problem on your hands. All right, so anyway, keep that in mind. Other few data points I'll point out regarding the lift itself. It weighs 900 pounds in the case. It's a big crate. So I used a large pinch bar to lift that thing up, plus a floor jack to get it onto some jack stands. And then I broke down the box around the entire lift, and then used a reverse of lift bar and pinch bars, or floor jack and lift bars, pinch bars, to get it back down onto the ground. So keep that in mind. You can do it if you're only one working by yourself. It's possible to move it. It's just really freaking heavy to do. And so even the guy who brought it into the garage, we had to kind of jump up and down using a floor jack, or one of those, those low ones that sit to the ground. And we had to jump up and down on the crate to get it over the lip of the driveway, or over the lip of the garage, just to get it into the garage itself. So after that, he's like, I'm out of here, dude. So I had to figure it all out from there. So anyway, just a couple of points of interest regarding the lift itself. I've had this lift for about 2 years. I love it. I use it on all my vehicles. It saved me a ton of work on my back, a lot of pain, a lot of issues. You guys know what I'm talking about. When you get older, it gets more difficult to get down on the floor and back up again. So I can't remember what I paid for it really, but spending the money, I wish I would have had a 4-point lift, would have been my ideal, but I just don't have the garage space for it. So the mid-rise was perfect for me. And it is portable in the sense that you can slide it around a little bit if you need to. What I've done is I've marked out spots on the garage floor here for certain cars. So like when the Charger's gonna come in, I know what lines to line up on, because I park the Charger over it all the time. As far as the Volkswagen's concerned, I got tape on the floor to mark where it goes. Everything else is kind of aligned close to where the Charger goes, but some are bigger, some of the cars are bigger, some are smaller. So eventually I'll do actual paint marks down here on the floor. So anyway, just wanted to add that in. Sorry that the video is so doggone long, but as I've said before, I tend not to waste the time. I get just down to the business, and that's the business at hand, is how to lift this car, how to lift the Volkswagen anyway, with Bendpak's mid-rise scissor lift. Thanks for watching.